Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. We've got a very festive feeling today for you on the Kendo Rant. I don't have the full Santa outfit this year, I'm afraid, but I'm sure this will suffice. We've got some fantastic questions to get through as well. I'm really looking forward to getting to these. There's some great ones that have either been posted in the Kendo Show Early Access group or been sent to me in various other ways. Don't forget, if you like the video and the content that we put out, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the Kendo bell, and shop at KendoStar, because that's really what keeps the lights on and the wheels turning. This is indeed going to be probably the last Kendo rant before. Certainly before Christmas, and probably the last one of the year. It will not be the last video I'll put out this year, though. I'm going to be messing with this throughout the whole video. It won't be the last video I'll put out this year. You will be hearing from me again, probably. Well, you certainly will be hearing from me before the end of the year. But before I jump into the questions, if you don't hear from me again before Christmas, if it's something that you celebrate in your life, then I wish you the very, very best for it. A very Merry Christmas and all the best for this time of year. So, like I said shop at KendoStar. Make sure you do that. You know that by now, right? I don't need to keep drilling on that. I own KendoStar, by the way, just for disclosure. Don't want to in trouble anyone. Right, okay. Hi, Andy. Hope you and your family are keeping well, and I'm looking forward to Christmas. Can I ask a rant question here? I don't want to flame more. Okay, so this one came to me by private message. When it comes to Mitori Geiko, I tend to watch instructional videos rather than Shiai, as I feel that Shiai can be too fast to really see what's going on sometimes, and I've worried about potentially trying to emulate something that may not be correct. Do you think this is a valid point? Just in case you need some good videos, there's a guy on a little channel called The Kendo Show. Little? It's an awesome series called Zero to Showdown. Might be worth a look. Stay safe and have a great Christmas. Thanks for all your amazing work and content. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kendo Show is not a little channel. Come on. I think we're nearly like 20,000 subs now. Like, we're not far away. So we're doing pretty well. For a Kendo channel, yeah. There's in English, not in Japanese. About Mitori Geiko. Mitori Geiko is when you are watching practice. So it's when you're like watching videos and stuff. I put a lot out, obviously myself, like instructional content, which is what you're talking about here. But I also post a lot of Shiai videos on the blog and stuff like that. And I do quite a few, and I haven't done one recently, but I do quite a few analysis videos. So where I'll take a Shiai video, or maybe not a Shiai video, a different type of video, and I'll sort of talk you through it. It's definitely worth watching those. So what you're saying is like, if you watch the Shiai videos, then it can be a little bit too fast to see what's really going on. And if you try to emulate it, you might emulate something that's not correct. Is it a valid point? It is a valid point, depending on what kind of Shiai videos you're watching. If you're worried about that, just watch the All Japan Championships. Because if you emulate that, including whatever mistakes they're making, you're on the right track. All right? You'll figure out what the mistakes are and you'll correct them. Don't worry about emulating that. There isn't a great deal of mistakes that happen at that level of Shiai. Don't emulate children's Shiai. And I wouldn't even emulate high school Shiai or university Shiai. Definitely don't university Shiai. It's rubbish. But that's gonna get me in trouble. But do emulate like the All Japans or the police tournaments, except for the leg sweeps, because it's really good Kendo, and a lot of it's got a slow motion replay, so I don't think that you'll end up copying something that's not correct if you do that. But you know, watch both. Next one, given this will be a festive Kendo rant, will you be gracing us with your Santa Claus outfit, or do you have something new up your sleeve? Well, as you can see, I don't have the full outfit. I just got the hat this year. I didn't really have enough time to prepare the entire outfit this time, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. Maybe next year. If you could have any gift from Santa Sensei for Christmas, what would it be? Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think someone asked me this last week, as well. And I really don't know, because I don't want for much. Everything that I could ever want, I already have. I've got a brilliant family that's super supportive. I've got a business that's become successful, probably the most successful in its field, and a wonderful kind of customer base and a following even that really supports that business even through such a difficult time. I'd like things to get back to normal and I'd like to be able to go and do Kendo again, but I realize that's outside the realms of reality right now, but you know, that's what I want more than anything, and I want things to continue as they are in terms of how brilliant everything's been, despite the adversities we've had this year. But yeah, and a KendoStar board set would be really nice as well. I've only got 7 of them at the moment, so I just got my 8th though actually. I think it's my 9th one. I might have missed one out when I was counting. When competing in Shiai, were you or are you ever nervous? What do you do to calm your nerves before competing? So this one comes up quite a lot. I've been asked this a few times and it's a great question. Yeah, of course I get nervous. I don't get as nervous as I used to. And it's one of the things that really plagued my competitive career when I was a serious competitor. And I think it's the reason that I didn't do better, because I was never a super successful competitor in real terms. You know, I won a few trophies, and I felt like I did better in Japan than I did in the West, but yeah, and I think part of that is because in Japan I wasn't that nervous about the Shiai that much, because I didn't feel like I was under the same sort of pressure, which is pressure I'd put myself under. So it's not a great thing for me. I don't handle that sort of nervous feeling that well before Shiai, and I often underperform because of it. And yeah, in recent years I've done a lot better because I've kind of been able to sort of take myself to one side and sort of think, well, look, Andy, what are you so nervous about here? Like, what's the worst that can happen? You'll go out there and you'll lose. I mean, that's it. That's the worst that can happen. And of course I don't want to lose, but a lot worse things could happen than me losing a Shiai, right? Even to somebody that I should beat. So, you know, I used to deal with that much worse than I do now. And I think I'm probably a better Shiaisha now than I was five years ago, to be honest. And I say that as someone that just watched a video from one of my Shiai from 5 years ago, sort of face palming all the way through it, going, what are you doing? So, yeah. Yeah, I just kind of try to pull myself back and say, look, what are you so nervous about? Just have a word with myself, really. And like, what's the worst that can happen here? Like, really? Like, it's not like I'm doing like, you know, the great thing about Kendo is when you lose, it doesn't hurt that much. I mean, it hurts your pride, but it's not like boxing or something where you break your nose or something like that. So I think that's definitely worth considering. Can you start Kendo with a pre-existing knee problem? How is Sonkyo and other kneeling requirements performed? If you can't kneel, is it seen as impolite or discourteous? Merry Christmas to your family and happy and safe New Year. Thank you very much. Same to you. Yeah, of course you can start Kendo with a pre-existing knee problem. About Sonkyo and kneeling requirements, you talk to the teacher. For the most part, you don't have to do Sonkyo if you can't do it for a medical reason. You can do what's like a standing Sonkyo, and so you stay stood up, but you lower the shinai to like gedan, so it's about the same height as your partner that's doing Sonkyo. And the same for when you're doing the lineup as well. If you can't kneel, it's not a problem. Like, no one's going to be like, you can't kneel because you've got an injury. How rude is that? Like, nobody's going to be like that. Like, people are reasonable. So just have a word with the people in your dojo, especially the teacher. Just let them know, just look, I can't actually kneel down like that because of the problems with my knee. Is it all right if I stand or if I sit in a different way, and stuff like that? You know, I've seen people in Japan that can't do that, really high-grade senseis as well. And even ones where they bring a chair for them to sit down in a chair while they put the men on and stuff like that. It's totally fine. Nobody's, you know, this isn't a religion yet. It's like, and even then I think they would make an exception. Hi Andy, have you ever encountered a tenigiri with problematic design? For example, some vulgar writing or insensitive picture. I have 2 absolutely beautiful tenigiris with skeletons on them straight from Japan, and a friend of mine told me that some Japanese might find them offensive as they don't like anything portraying skeletons or death. Is that true? How should I approach this? Thanks. No, it's not. Well, it's half true, but in regards to your tenigiris are perfectly fine. No one's going to be offended. I haven't seen anything with like vulgar or insensitive stuff printed on them, and obviously you shouldn't use anything like that, but skeletons aren't going to, nobody's going to be like, if you bring out, tenuguri with skeletons on. Like you said, you got them from Japan, right? That means that in Japan they're acceptable. So I've seen plenty of people use those sort of things, especially that I'm sure they're like a kind of cartoony type skeleton. I mean, if you're talking about something that looks really realistic with all sort of gore on it and stuff, and like an eyeball hanging out, that might not be super suitable, especially if there's kids around. But like, nobody's gonna take it that seriously. In terms of skeletons, images of skeletons, they've got a pretty much similar connotation as they do outside of Japan as they do in Japan. People aren't scared of pictures of skeletons. There are some different cultural things in terms of what people associate with death in Japan and that remind them of death. But actually, I found that Japanese society on the whole is a lot more sort of to terms with death. And the concept of death than many cultures in the West. They have a festival of the dead, the Obon, and they accept that people die. And it's normal in Japan at funerals for the deceased person's body to be visible. And even after they're cremated, it's normal for the family to put the bones, and the remains after the cremation into the urn. So it's it's not like that. But because some of those cultural practices, there are certain things that remind them of death that we don't. That it's not like that people shriek in horror if they see it. They say, hey, if you're not aware of it, then they'll just let you know that it's a bit taboo. Stuff like with your kendogi, like for example, wearing it the opposite way around, because I think it's that they put the clothes on inside out on corpses at funerals. So like wearing clothes inside out is sort of unlucky sort of thing, which in the West there's even superstitions where it's the opposite. And also, like I said, they put the remains of after a cremation into an urn, and they do it using chopsticks, passing the sort of bits of bone, it's a bit gruesome, from chopstick to chopstick. So they never do that with food. So they never pass food from chopstick to chopstick in Japan, because it always reminds them of that particular practice. Anyway, from that tangent, your skeleton tenuguris will be perfectly fine. No one's going to be offended by them. Okay. Hi, Andy. So I've seen your previous Kendo rants. How to get Renshi, that going through an opponent after a strike is not correct, Zanshin, as you are not supposed to turn your back to an opponent. Always keep facing him. To add to this, I've barely seen high-level Kendoka in Shiai tournaments going through after landing Nippon. If this is the case, why are we taught to go through an opponent after a strike if it's deemed incorrect? Fantastic question. I hope you've been and watched the video that I've done on this very channel about Zanshin, all right? Because I talk about that in depth. All right, there's a video that I've done specifically about Zanshin, and I talk exactly about this. In principle, you should not take your eyes off your opponent. Okay, and that includes after you made a strike. So in kihon, kirikaishi, uchikomi, we make strikes and we pass our opponent and we leave them behind us with our backs to them, and then we turn around in kamae. That's not Zanshin. All right, the big. I'm moving my bobble around again. The big misnomer is that's Zanshin. It is not Zanshin. Okay, it's incorrect to take your eyes away. Okay, it's momentarily acceptable, especially as you fly forward with momentum. Some waza require it, like after you strike door, bam, this way, you need to turn this way as you hit, and obviously they're over there, so bam, this way, and you get a bit of distance, and then you turn around. So momentary breaking eye contact's okay, but you try your best to kind of keep it as much as you can. But, I know what you're talking about. As you can see, if you watch the high-level Shiai, someone hits men, they're not going to go off into the distance like this, like you see beginners do. And that's because there's this sort of misunderstanding that because we do that in kihon, that must be Zanshin. It's not, all right? That's not Zanshin. We go past like that because it's for the purpose of our kihon, our basic practice, okay? So you should attack with full momentum, full sutemi, and fly forward straight at the opponent, and think about as if you're just flying forward, and then practice a fast suriashi. So it's to give us the opportunity to practice fast suriashi and striking with momentum. It's not the same. as practicing it for a real situation. Okay, it's just part of the kind of basic practice. All right, it's a bit of a tenuous link, but like I understand I'm not musical at all, but my kids play musical instruments and they learn to do scales. Okay, but those scales aren't really songs. Yeah, they're to build up their waza, so that when they, you know, their technique. That's what cutting through like that is. It's like that. Yeah. It's not for the honban or the what's honban? The main event, the real thing. Yeah. Okay. It's not for the real thing. So you should try and keep your eyes on them. Go and watch the video I did on Zanshin. I explain about how you should do Zanshin after your strikes, and learn to separate that in your mind from kihon, basics practice, and actual jisen tekina waza. That's the realistic actual striking. Okay. It's a bit like the big strikes, big swings of the shinai. We don't do them in the real situation, right? But it's to help develop our technique. Probably a better analogy than musical scales. Anyway, I've seen some videos on various social media platforms of Kenshi cutting a single sheet of newspaper that is held by two other people. They use either a shinai or a bokken. What's the purpose of this? It's for atouchi. I've seen this. I've never tried it. But I understand that you can't cut the paper cleanly. It's where they get a sheet of newspaper, two people hold it either side, and then one person uses a bokkto or a shinai and bam, like that, and tries to cut it straight in the middle. And if they can cut it clean in the middle, it means they're using the correct atouchi, the correct wrist action. I don't know if it works or not. I've never tried it. It's not a sort of teaching method I've ever employed. So I've never had a go at it. I don't know if it works, but I do understand that is the purpose of it. Excuse me. Right, last one. Hi, Andy. Wishing you and the KendoStar team and your family a lovely Christmas. Thank you. Same to you. Recently, I was introduced to the term Ato-Uchi when discussing sem. Okay. The All Japan Kendo Federation Kendo Dictionary describes it as striking back just after the opponent scores ippon in a match or keiko. This is done in an attempt to deny that ippon occurred or in vexation at having been scored upon. Okay. Have you ever experienced Ato-Uchi cancelling out an ippon score? And what are your thoughts about using this method? It would be seen as honourable to take out one's enemy down at the same time as dying from their strike in a battlefield. But does this fit with the ideals of Kendo, either modern or pre-war? Thanks. Okay. What a fantastic question. And it's a difficult one. And it becomes grey and blurry because what you've got is a piece of Japanese language that's used differently by different people across the entire country. In different situations and used differently by the same people in different situations, that's been sort of ripped out of that context and put into the context of being a strict piece of terminology and then defined in a dictionary. And to compound that, and this is my opinion, might be a bit of a spicy take on this, but the dictionary definition there from the All Japan Kendo Federation seems to be a bit of a left field sort of out there definition. I've never heard that definition of Ato-Uchi. I don't think that's the most common usage of it, to be honest. It might be a bit heretical for me to say that against the Zenken then, but sorry if you're watching. Don't take my renshi away. Right. Ato-Uchi. Ato means after, uchi means strike. So it means to strike afterwards. Let's talk about the question itself. So the definition says it's done as an attempt to deny the ippon occurred. So it's not possible to do that. Yeah. If you're in a shiai, bam, you get hit with the ippon and it's awarded ippon, and then suddenly you make a strike and say, nah, that's not ippon, like kind of that way. The referees don't go, oh, he did Ato-Uchi, so that means it's not. That doesn't happen or occur. I think what they mean in this particular situation, and I did have a quick look at the Japanese text earlier. I think what they mean is like when you do more for a situation in keiko or jigeiko, when you make a strike on someone and they don't want to accept that you hit them, so they'll hit you instead, sort of whilst you're exposed after making a strike. sort of say to you, no, that wasn't a good strike. I think that's more about it. Especially the invexation at having been scored upon. That's not very nice, is it? It's not a very good thing to do. Now, here's the thing. I think you should take that definition of Ato-Uchi and forget it. I'd even I'm going to take a pen to my dictionary later and cross that out, because that just isn't how people use the term Ato-Uchi in my experience. Now, I'm sure there are some people there that do. And it's not that if you do that, it's not Ato-Uchi, because it is. Ato-Uchi is when you make a strike after your opponent's made a strike. That's what Ato-Uchi is. And it's different to Gono-sen in a way. It's a bit different to Gono-sen. I'm not going to get into that because that's deep. But, for example, you make a strike. I block it. I don't do Ojiwaza. I block it. You come flying at me. I make the block this way. You come flying at me. You go this way. You turn this way and you're exposed and bam, I strike then. That's Ato-Uchi. Or, relevant to the previous question, you do your men strike and you don't do Zanshin. You go off into the distance like you cut through in kihon like that. And then you turn around and you receive the strike. That's Ato-Uchi as well. Okay? Because you strike after the opponent did. That's the most common type of usage of the word Ato-Uchi. So it's not quite Ojiwaza because it happens after their waza is it's not like you blocked and returned. That's different. And it's not quite Gono-sen either. It's just when you make a strike at that moment, the opponent's sort of exposed because they've made an attack. Or most commonly, they make a kote strike or something, and it's a close one. It hits, but it's not good enough for ippon, and then bam, you make a strike there in that sort of split second where they're like, oh, was that ippon or not? And you bam like that. That's also Ato-Uchi. That's the most common context for it. It's not a super common term. It's not a super important term. So it's not one you need to worry too much about either. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I am surprised that there's that definition in the dictionary, to be honest. But having said that, it's a bit hard to also write down a definition like I've just described, right? That's it. That's the questions for today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for giving me these questions. Thank you for joining me all year. This is the last Kendo Rant of the year. Like I said, this will not be the last video you see of me this year. I will be making at least one more, probably two. I'll be making a proper message to thank everybody for the support you've all given me over the year. But just as a heads up, not a heads up, but just kind of to preempt that, really, I really do appreciate everybody this year supporting KendoStar. It's been a really tough year for us, as it has been for everybody. It's not easy to sell Kendo equipment in a world where Kendo has been banned in most countries. So yeah, that's been tough. It's getting better. We're looking forward to next year. Next year's going to be even better. We've got lots of great stuff planned, lots of good things coming, so look forward to that. I will be also doing a video to update you all about how things will change at KendoStar next year. We are going to have to change a few things. Obviously, this weird political stuff going on with Britain, which is where we are mainly based, and the European Union. I think everyone knows all about that. But we're handling it. We've got some great stuff planned because of it, and we're handling it in a fantastic way. So yeah, I've got information about that coming very soon, and how we're going to have to change the way we operate a little bit in order to accommodate that and still provide the fantastic service that we do. So look out for that. Finally, last one before I go, do make sure you subscribed, because, and in fact, better than subscribing while I just mess around with my hat and it's all falling apart. Better than subscribing, now I'm rambling now, but better than subscribing is get onto the Kendo Show Early Access group if you're not in it already. There's a link in the description below. That's when I put out a instructional video. They go in there before they go live on YouTube, and I've just filmed 3 or 4 new instructional videos, and I'm gonna get one out hopefully by the end of the year, and if not, it'll be very early in the first week of next year. They're new, slightly more advanced videos than what we've done up to now. I think you're gonna love them. I'm really happy with them. So make sure you're in the group so that you see them before anyone else. That's it. Shop at KendoStar. See you all next time. Bye bye. Oh, Merry Christmas. Have a brilliant one. Bye bye.